Okay, so think about walking into a restaurant. You know that feeling when everything just
Mm-hmm.
works, it feels effortless,
Mm-hmm.
great food, yeah, but also that smooth service, the sense that you're really being looked after.
Right. And we usually credit the chef, maybe the main waiter.
Exactly. But today, we're going to do a deep dive into a role that's uh, often working just under the radar, but is absolutely crucial, the
It,
assistant waiter.
it really is such a fundamental role for that seamless experience. And for this deep dive, we've got something pretty interesting, a collection of interview questions aimed specifically at people applying for this job.
Right.
So our mission here is to kind of dissect these questions, look at the expected answers, and figure out what skills, what mindset, what responsibilities really define this role, what are restaurants actually looking
Yeah,
for?
what makes a great assistant waiter? We're using these questions as our sort of map, getting behind the scenes of restaurant service.
Yeah.
So starting with the basics, the core stuff, setting tables, running food, clearing plates, what jumps out at you there?
Well, it's how these tasks, which seem, pretty simple on the surface, are actually the bedrock of the whole guest experience.
Hmm.
It's not just putting down forks, right? It's creating the atmosphere from the moment someone sits down. Not just dropping off food, but timing it right, presenting it properly.
And the support for the main waiter, too.
Exactly. And notice the theme running through those early questions. It always comes back to ensuring guests have a pleasant dining experience. That's the absolute focus. It's all about how it impacts the
It's
guests.
all through the lens of the guest.
Okay.
But things don't always go perfectly, even in top spots.
Oh, for sure.
So these interview questions also dig into handling, let's say, the trickier moments. What's the pattern you see there?
Composure. That's the big one. Staying calm under pressure.
Right.
Think about it whether you're facing someone who's maybe a bit rude or dealing with food that's come out cold, or even if you drop something. The immediate reaction sets the tone.
Mm.
The expected answers always highlight. Stay calm, really listen to what the guest is saying, and then focus on fixing it politely and effectively. Sometimes that means getting a manager, sure, but the first step is that calm resolution.
Like that cold food example.
Yeah.
It's not just taking the plate back.
No, it's the apology making it sound genuine and the speed. Promising a fresh, hot replacement quickly shows you're taking their complaint seriously. Makes a huge difference.
It really does. And the drop tray scenario?
Yeah,
Yeah, that could be total chaos.
could be.
But the steps are so clear. Apologize first, make sure everyone's okay, report it, clean it up fast,
Yeah.
and then get right back to work. Like professionalism 101, even when things go wrong.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on to experience and skills. This is a big chunk of the interview focus. What are the key things they're looking for?
Well, there seems to be a baseline, right? General food service experience.
Yeah, the foundations. Knowing how to set a table properly, the flow, delivering food, keeping things clean, understanding that guest satisfaction is the goal. That's the entry level.
But then there's this distinction they make about fine dining experience. What's the extra layer there?
That's about attention to detail cranked up a notch. It's about specific service etiquette, knowing how to approach the table, the right way to serve from, how drinks are poured. It's subtle stuff, maybe, but it adds to that feeling of elevated comfort for the guest.
It makes sense. It's about anticipating needs almost. And speaking of pressure, the questions about staying organized during busy shifts, handling multiple tables. That sounds intense.
It is. It takes real efficiency. You can't just be good with one table. You need to multitask effectively.
So how do they suggest doing that?
Prioritization is key. Communicating constantly with the team, the head waiter, the kitchen, other assistants, staying focused, amidst all the noise and movement, grouping tasks together so you're not running back and forth needlessly. It's about smart movement,
Planning your route almost.
pretty much. And then there's a really serious one. Food allergies. The questions here are very specific.
Yeah, you can't mess that up.
Absolutely not. It's about guest safety, full stop. So the emphasis is on double-checking ingredients, clearly telling the kitchen about the allergy, and making absolutely sure the right plate goes to the right person. The sample answers really drive home how critical this is. No shortcuts.
Vital. And then circling back to teamwork, that support for the head waiter comes up again and again.
It does. It paints the picture of the assistant waiter as like the essential support crew. They handle the setups, the refills, running the different courses on time,
Right?
which frees up the head waiter to manage the overall guest experience, take complex orders, handle specific requests. It's a partnership.
A well-oiled machine, ideally.
Exactly. And even something like Carrying a full tray properly, it sounds basic, but doing it well means food gets delivered safely and efficiently without spills or delays. It's part of that smooth operation.
And it's interesting, they cover both the sort of back-end stuff, like using POS systems,
The tech side,
and the direct guest stuff, like helping someone understand the menu. It's a real mix.
it is. You need to be comfortable keying in orders, handling payments, checking table statuses on the system. That's just expected now.
Yeah.
But you also need the people skills to explain a dish simply, or importantly, know when to say, let me get the head waiter or chef to explain that in more detail for you. It shows resourcefulness.
Knowing your limits, but still helping.
Precisely. And all this, like we said, often happens under pressure. Those questions about handling stress during peak times. They're looking for resilience, staying calm, prioritizing, communicating clearly, even when it's incredibly hectic, maintaining quality.
Okay, so bringing all these different skills and tasks together, it all points towards customer service, right?
Yeah.
Excellent customer service.
Yeah.
How do these interview materials define what that actually looks like?
Consistently, it boils down to a few core things. Being prompt, responding quickly to needs. Being friendly and approachable. Being attentive, noticing things without hovering. Trying to meet needs before the guest even has to ask sometimes. And just making people feel genuinely welcome and, respected.
Right. It's more than just transactional.
Much more. It's about the feeling you create.
And they include that idea of going above and beyond. The example given was organizing a surprise birthday dessert.
Yeah, I saw that. That's a great example because it shows initiative. It shows you're not just doing the bare minimum, but you're actually thinking about how to make the experience special for that particular guest. That's what creates loyalty and makes people remember their meal.
Those memorable moments. Okay, but service isn't just about the guest, right? It's also about the internal team dynamics. The questions touch on professionalism and teamwork, too.
Yeah, they do, like maintaining a professional appearance, clean uniform, good hygiene. It sounds basic, but it signals respect for the job and the guests. It contributes to the overall atmosphere.
Right. It sets a standard. And that question about dealing with a coworker who isn't pulling their weight, that's interesting.
It is, because teamwork is crucial in a restaurant. If one person slacks off, it impacts everyone, especially the guests.
So what's the recommended approach?
It's tiered, kind of. First, maybe offer help, see if they're struggling. Then a polite reminder about the task or standard. And only if that doesn't work, then you'd mention it discreetly to a supervisor. It's about trying to solve it collaboratively first, but ultimately ensuring the team functions well. Professionalism, again.
Diplomacy is key there. Okay, last area, motivation. Why does someone want to be an assistant waiter? What do the sample answers suggest?
Well, a lot of it seems to come down to genuinely enjoying interacting with people, liking the feeling of helping others have a good time. Also, being part of a team, that collaborative energy you get in a busy service. And then there's the satisfaction of contributing to a great dining experience overall. Plus, many mention wanting to learn and grow in hospitality.
So it's not just seen as a stepping stone, necessarily.
Ideally, no. There's an intrinsic motivation enjoying the work itself, the service aspect, the teamwork. That genuine interest seems to be what they're looking for, suggesting it leads to better performance and maybe sticking around longer. It's about more than just the pay.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what's really striking from looking through all these interview questions is just how multifaceted the assistant waiter role is.
Yeah.
It's way more than just carrying plates back and forth.
Absolutely.
It requires this blend of practical skills, setting tables, carrying trays, using the POS, but also serious problem solving on the fly, like dealing with complaints or spills.
And that constant focus on the customer experience, that's the thread connecting everything.
Yeah, it really feels like a foundational role. Get this right, and the whole service structure feels solid. Get it wrong, and things start to wobble.
You got it. It's that consistent, often unseen attention to detail, anticipating needs. That's what makes the difference.
So thinking about all that,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Next time you're out for a meal, what are those really subtle things, those tiny actions an excellent assistant waiter does that just make everything smoother, better, without you even really noticing?
The things you only notice if they're not done.
Exactly. And maybe, what can we all learn from that level of quiet competence and focus on making interactions positive? Not just in restaurants, but, anywhere. Definitely something to chew on.